What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Random Video Blog, where every single Friday I, Graham Giuseppe Matthews, run down my rambling wrestling thoughts on the wrestling world, share a few stories, etc., etc. Today we're doing yet another book review, this one a bit more extensive, of Daniel Bryan's, yes, my improbable journey to the main event of WrestleMania. Now, funny story, I got this book 2.5 years ago. Right before it came out, I got it on Amazon. I was an Amazon Prime member at that time. I'm not anymore. Fuck you, Amazon. But anyway, so I got the book ahead of time because I knew they were going to be doing a book signing. Daniel Bryan was here in Connecticut, not too far away from me. So I got the book ahead of time. I was all ready for him to sign it, ready to go. And I had already met him prior to that point. I had met him literally years ago. And I've talked about it here in the video blog before a few years back. I met him in October of 2010. And you can check out the whole story on that again in the random video blog from about 3 years or so ago. You got to go back in the archives. So I wanted to meet him again. I mean, obviously, a lot had changed in 5 years. The guy had obviously main evented WrestleMania. I hadn't read the book or anything yet, but I really wanted him to sign it and go to the book signing because it was in my area anyway. I couldn't. I came close to going, but on that day, of course, I got my fucking, not tonsils, but my wisdom teeth removed on that exact day. And I knew that in advance. And I asked my mom, I'm like, hey, do you think I'll still be able to, I'll still be good to go to this book signing? She's like, yeah, that should be fine, whatever. And I wasn't going to drive or anything. You're not supposed to drive or whatever when you get your wisdom teeth taken out. But I was going to have someone go with me. And I was all ready to go. I was literally hours removed from that morning getting my wisdom teeth taken out. I was ready to walk out the door. And my stepdad was like, I don't think we should go. Like, I was in so much pain. Blood was coming out of my mouth. I was so fucking swollen. I was so out of it. And I was almost like in tears because I couldn't go. And I mean, again, I'd already met him before. It's not like I missed out on an opportunity to meet Chris Jericho, which I talked about a few weeks ago. Wink, wink. Check out that random video blog if you haven't already. But I was still pretty upset because I thought it would be cool to go get the book signed. That's why I got the book in the first place, in addition to wanting to read the book. So because of that, I didn't really get around to reading the book right away. Around that time, I was already reading Hulk Hogan's book, which I talked about a few years back here in the random video blog. Then Chris Jericho's latest book and a few other things. So I had it laying around. I've been in this book crazy mode as of late and reading all the books I possibly can. And I saw this laying around. I had read about 20 pages last summer. So the summer after I got it back in 2015, I only read about 20 pages before I had to go back to school and didn't have time to read. So I picked it up about a month or two ago in the late July or so. Picked it up, wanted to read it, and ended up finishing it in like 2 or 3 weeks. And the book's about 300 pages. It's a pretty hefty read, but it's a great read. The book is written by Daniel Bryan himself with help from Greg Tello. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, his agent or whatever. But Daniel Bryan does write the book himself. He does an excellent job. He gets all the details correct. So it pretty much goes from birth, childhood, which he does spend some time talking about his dad who had passed away just recently, actually, but his relationship with his mom and his dad and his family, and just kind of being a very, not country boy, but, you know, and doing a lot of, like, logging and stuff like that, which was pretty common in Aberdeen, Washington, which is where he's from. Then he talks a lot about his independent days. Now, of course, I know about Daniel Bryan's independent work, being in Ring of Honor and over in Japan, but I didn't know the intricacies of his independent work and the minute details and the various opponents and matches and specifically stories. And he gets a lot into that, and it's fucking awesome. Like, he holds nothing back. He tells a lot of great stories about a lot of his opponents, Nigel McGuinness being a big character in this book, along with many others. The Brian Kendrick plays a major role in his upbringing as well, which, again, I knew from the Cruiserweight Classic when he brought it up, but I at that point, I had not yet read that portion of the book when that aired about a year ago. So reading that back in the book was also fucking great. He talks a lot about his indie dates again. Before coming to WWE, spends about, maybe I would say, the final third of the book talking about his WWE run and everything else that went along with it. He was originally signed to WWE back in, I think, 2000, 2001, before WCW was bought, and they didn't really need him anymore, so they closed down that developmental territory. They did not re-sign Daniel Bryan, which ended up being the best thing for him. He slept in, like, Antonio Inoki's dojo over, I think, in California. I'm pretty sure it was. He stayed there. He did a lot of moving around, working for various different promotions, working over in England. He feels like he became a more well-rounded performer over there. But yeah, before signing with WWE in 2009, not really being all that honest with his medical testing, which is interesting now, considering he's now retired, and because of the concussions he did not admit to when he signed many, many years ago, he is now retired from the ring because of that, because he was a bit too honest with his screenings this time around. But anyway, so he signs with the company, talks about the NXT tenure with The Miz and how they did or did not get along. He's very complimentary of The Miz, despite their on-air, their on-screen differences in recent years and even back then, and how big of a rivals they were. Usually when you have a rivalry that heated on TV, that usually means they're close backstage because they have good chemistry together. So Miz plays a big role in Daniel Bryan's upbringing as well in the WWE early on. So he talks a lot about that, how he got fired from the WWE and how he wasn't upset about it due to the whole necktie violence thing with Justin Roberts in the Nexus debut. Being brought back and doing this and doing that, being left off WrestleMania. He goes into a lot of detail about that. How losing the Sheamus at 28 was the best thing to ever happen to him. He does say, I won't go into everything he talks about. You're going to have to read the book to find out for yourself. What I loved, the whole book is amazing, but I do want to mention this, though. I really appreciated, and I completely agree with this, and never really saw anyone else say this. A few other people, but I really felt strongly this way a few years ago, and it's nothing major, but he talks about towards the end of the book the series of matches he had with Randy Orton, and he also obviously admits it's pretty, it's pretty public knowledge at this point, pretty much public knowledge, that he was not planned to go to the main event of WrestleMania. Stop fucking saying that was the plan the entire time, people. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was supposed to be Sheamus and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. People in the company have said it. Daniel Bryan said it in his own book. That's enough, proof that you need, that was supposed to be the plan, that he was not supposed to headline WrestleMania had it not been for CM Punk's departure. But anyway, so towards the end of the book, he does say during the series of matches he had with Randy Orton in the fall of 2013, he didn't think they were as good as they could have been, that was like the biggest thing I was saying 4 years ago. Like, all these matches are good, from Night of Champions to Battleground to Hell in a Cell. I talked about it in my Wrestle Rant reviews of those pay-per-views a few years back. They were good, but they weren't great, which is weird because they always had great chemistry. They had great TV matches earlier on in 2013. They had good Raw matches in 2014. But just not on pay-per-view for whatever reason. And he talks about how the finish of the Battleground show, which I, rant about all these years later, was bullshit, with Big Show getting involved and causing the pay-per-view to end without a finish, which was pretty stupid. So a lot of this stuff I found myself agreeing with 100%. But anyway, the whole book is amazing. He goes into a lot of detail about his wrestling career, his relationship with Brie Bella. And before each chapter, let me see if each chapter is named. Let me see. Let's see. I'm not sure if it says exactly. There's no chapters, I don't think. There's not really a table of contents. It goes straight into chapter 1. Mostly because before each chapter, it talks about... And the cool thing is, again, the whole thing is about his journey to the main event of WrestleMania. But before each chapter, he talks about where he is before WrestleMania. Like, on the Monday before WrestleMania, what was he doing that day? Was he doing media? Was he working out? Was he on a date with Brie Bella? Each chapter starts off with something that he was doing during WrestleMania 30 week before he headlined WrestleMania that day, which I thought was cool. A really nice way to kind of format the book. And it ends on a sad note, too. I won't give away what it is. You're going to have to read it to find out for yourself. It has something to do with his dad, who passed away right after WrestleMania. So he does offer a bit of aftermath, which I almost cried reading this. That's how emotional this was. That's how great this book was, especially at the end. But anyway, it's a great read. It's interesting because, again, it came out in the summer of 2015. I'm sure he finished writing it in 2014 or whatever, and it got published in 2015. But this came out before he retired from the ring in 2016, so we don't even get the full details on that, but I'm sure he will, come out about it once he's eventually gone from WWE, likely in 2019 or 2018, whatever it might be. But anyway, guys, in short, it's a really, really good book. I got it 2 years ago. I wish I read it sooner than I did. I just finished reading it just recently, so I feel like this book review is very delayed, obviously, but it's still really, really good. Again, Daniel Bryan's Yes book, My Improbable Journey to the Main Event of WrestleMania. I'm sure you could still buy it on Amazon and bookstores and whatnot. It's a really, really, really good read, especially if you're a Daniel Bryan fan. But even if not, still a great read regardless, written by Daniel Bryan himself. So again, guys, 2 thumbs up for the book. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I will have more book reviews here up on the channel, and I've done a number of them this year already. I talked about the NXT The Future Is Now book. I reviewed that a couple months back. Austin Aries' book, Food Fight, through the bingo halls to the big time, and his vegan lifestyle and whatnot. That was a really good book. Ryback's book, his self-help book from earlier this year. I think I reviewed that in early March. AJ Lee's book, which I did an audiobook of, but I still reviewed it here for the channel in early May. I talked about the WWE Book of Rules, which isn't really technically a book, but it was a fun read for what it was. I talked about that in a recent random video blog as well. So check all of those out from this year. I've also reviewed Hulk Hogan's book from 2 years ago and Chris Jericho's third book from last year. And also this too, I want to mention this. I am currently reading Chris Jericho's latest book, No is a 4-letter word. I'm in the midst of reading that right now, almost finished. And that book review will not be up here on the channel, but rather my website. So I got sent a free copy of the book, which is really cool. And they wanted me to review it for them. So I'm going to do it for the website, nextdaywrestling.net. So keep an eye out for that pretty soon. So that book review will not be up here. It's going to be in written form on my website. But I will have my video blog review of Pat Patterson's book, which came out earlier this year, and maybe last year. But still a great read from what I've read so far. So that should be up at some point fairly soon. So all that being said, guys, thank you for checking out the video. I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for daily content. Be sure to tune in next Friday for another all-new random video blog every single Friday right here on the channel. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.